Hey, it looks like we may not be going in. We may not be launching a strike against Syria. I'm somewhat surprised by it, but anyhow, basically, we deployed a whole lot of warships down to the Mediterranean to prepare for a strike on Syria to, I guess, randomly blow stuff up. Um, is everything I've read, there doesn't seem to be any game plan. It's just like, oh, the Assad regime used chemical weapons, so we need to punish him for that um, by blowing up his military from the sea. Um, uh, the more you read about the chemical weapons attack, which yes, it did occur. There was a chemical weapon attack, a chemical weapons attack on a civilian town, but it's not exactly clear who launched this attack. It could have been the Assad regime. It also could have been the rebel groups, and by rebel groups, I mean there's more than one group of rebels fighting the Assad regime. So there's jihadist. Well, there's Al Qaeda basically. There's Al Qaeda fighting the Assad regime. There's groups fighting for democratic society, but as far as I can tell, they've either been wiped out or defeated by the jihadists. So these groups almost don't exist anymore for the most part in the rebel forces. I mean, it's still there. They're still fighting for to create a democratic state in Syria. Yeah, but I mean, if the rebels won, they would be destroyed anyways, because the most effective fighters are jihadists, basically Al Qaeda. Um, so yeah, launching a strike against Syria seems kind of pointless. It, I don't even know what we would like. What exactly would be targeting? Who know? I don't know. Military targets, I guess. How would this prevent Assad from using chemical weapons in the future, assuming he did use chemical weapons? I don't know. It's not really explained at all. Um, and we'd be going it alone because apparently the Parliament in the United Kingdom has voted no to military action. Um, so yeah, the United Kingdom wouldn't be backing us. So I find it hard to believe Obama would do this completely alone, without any backing. Um, Russia is deploying naval forces to the Mediterranean area, moving a fleet in there. Something they haven't done since the old Soviet times. So yeah, that's disturbing. So now you got Russia's navy moving in there, parking their boats by our boats basically, and we're, I guess, staring at each other uh, over a civil war that has nothing to do with us. So yeah, I'm gonna be providing a whole bunch of links, all sorts of different things here about this. No, maybe we won't be going to war. See, what is it? 91% of Americans oppose intervention in Syria. Pretty much just generally. Even if Assad did use chemical weapons, 90% of Americans, a large percentage of Americans oppose intervention. After decades of a decade of war in Iraq and Afghanistan, um, we just don't want to go to war with anybody for any reason, anywhere, at any time. We just don't want it. um, so it's probably another reason why everybody's buying up all those guns here in America, because we're getting people are getting paranoid of the government. Anyhow, yeah. So all of these links, intervention in Syria is so unpopular that Congress is actually more popular than the idea of intervening in Syria, which is amazing because Americans hate Congress. We hate Congress. We hate them. Um, so yeah, so maybe we won't go in. It's a possibility now. Is watching the corporate media here because I like to see what they're thinking. There's a lot of downplaying of of intervention. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we won't. Who knows? I don't know. It looks unlikely now. It looks like they're changing their tune there. Yeah, I don't know. And another thing on the chemical weapons attack in Syria. Before I quit my little rant here. Um, so yeah, the chemical weapons attack happened. The town was hit by rocket strikes. Rockets armed with chemical weapons. One of the arguments for intervention made by President Obama was that we know that it was the Syrian regime, the Assad regime, that launched these attacks because of the weapons, the nature of the delivery system of the chemical weapons to the civilian target, i.e., rockets. They used rockets to strike this town, killing hundreds, maybe thousands of people. Numbers seem randomly fluctuating on that, but it so yeah, the argument that rockets are proof that the Assad regime is behind the attacks just seems idiotic. Why wouldn't the rebels be able to get rockets? I mean, that's stupid. Israel gets hit all the time with rockets from Gaza and the West Bank. Hence their Iron Dome missile defense system to shoot down rockets. I mean, if people in the West Bank and Gaza can get rockets and shoot them at Israel, why couldn't rebels in Syria get such rockets and arm them with chemical weapons? Particularly since some of these rebels are actually Al Qaeda, and like, of course Al Qaeda would do something like that. So and when weapon inspectors or the UN inspectors are there in the country at the time, then they launch it. The Assad regime apparently launches this attack on the city with chemical weapons, which strangely the city that is in it's in rebel held territory. So the Assad regime was moving troops into that territory, and apparently they decided to kill their own troops with chemical weapon attack. I don't know. I find that whole scenario really dubious, like hard to believe. I mean, it's possible the Assad regime used chemical weapons. It is. But I don't know how you could tell if it was the rebels or the Assad regime, because the only people that benefit from this chemical attack would be the rebels. Assad wouldn't benefit from that. Like why would you want to intentionally get the U.S. in there? No, I don't know. So anyhow, whole bunch of links here talking about this whole situation, including the story by USA Today on the vote in the British Parliament in opposition to intervention in Syria. So yeah, most Americans oppose intervention. I've yet to meet anybody that supports intervention at all where I live. Nobody supports it, which is interesting because there's a general divide on policy issues across the board. But on this one, everybody just like stay out of it. But yeah, okay, bunch of links. There we go.